Hudson Valley is renowned for its picturesque and lush landscapes, charming small towns, and rich cultural heritage, offering a unique blend of natural beauty and historic charm. Today on Homeworthy, we visit 3 of the region's stunning homes: an art-filled cabin, a cozy cottage, and a country estate with gorgeous gardens. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Oh, hey Homeworthy. I'm Jodie Patterson. Welcome to my home in upstate New York. Let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Jodie Patterson. I am an LGBT advocate, an author, public speaker, and a mother of 5. So I've been coming upstate for the last 2 decades. And then I went through a divorce and I said, keep upstate. I don't want anything to do with upstate. And that lasted for about a couple of years. And then I realized I actually really love the mountains and the water and the nature. And so I started looking at places that I could see myself living in. And at first I thought I would buy a house, and then I just fell in love with this property. There are blueberry bushes and ponds and wild bears, and so I decided to build on this property. And so I built my house starting about 4 years ago, and I just finished. One of the first things you see when you enter my home is Michael Jackson. I'm a 70s baby. I grew up on the Jackson 5, love Michael Jackson, love music. I'm always playing music. So you've got Michael Jackson, John Coltrane, jazz legend, and Jimi Hendrix. This sort of sets the tone. And then, of course, an abstract gold table, because why not? Bronze vase, and it's always flooded with colorful flowers. A little love note from a child. I have them all over the place. Glasses for days. I think I have 10 pairs in this little nook here. And then can't go anywhere without a customized purse for myself. So I want to welcome you into the family room first. This is where we spend most of our time, and I actually spent most of my money here. The wall of windows was my non-negotiable. I could negotiate on everything else, but this is where I really spent a lot of time and resources, because for me, living sort of indoor-outdoor was the whole point of being up here. So I did this gigantic window display where it's 25 feet high and 12 feet wide. And I'm basically here all day. I watch the sunrise and the sunset. Another thing that I really wanted was a vintage fireplace. So winter, spring, summer, fall, we're lighting a fire, and it's gorgeous. A lot of what I do is collect things along the way, even if I don't have a place for them. So I bought this Italian marble table years ago, before I even had this house, in Brooklyn. I bought these white modern chairs in Zurich, Switzerland, probably 2 decades ago. The throws are IKEA, and then I bought some vintage pillowcases upstate. I really love my couch. So I had this very couch years ago, and it was tattered and worn, but it's such a gorgeous design that I had a friend of mine reupholster some vintage ones for me in leather. And the reason why I chose leather is because I have dogs and kids, and there's the outdoors, so I didn't want it to be too precious. but I love how like, you know, you can really just sink into each one, and you can like lounge, and you can sit up, and it really accommodates like the whole family, dogs included, and it's not precious at all. Love this. And what's also really great about this is that you can move them around. So if we want to face the fireplace, we can. If we want to face each other, we can make it even more cozy. This is one of my favorite things in this house. Okay, doggies, let's go. Let's look around. Orange carpet from a friend. Two friends gifted it to me as a hand-me-down. The Pantone chairs, I have a ton of them, and I've had them for like 22 years. I love them. They're white. You can wipe them down. Again, kid-friendly, dog-friendly, indoor, outdoor-friendly, and I move them around the house. I have some outdoors. I have some indoors. These chairs, I love. I love the framing of them. And they're all a little tattered and worn, and most of my furniture is, and I don't mind it. I've had these probably for 20 years as well. But what I really like about them was I chose an African fabric that I found in Ghana years ago and reupholstered them. My children are Ghanaian. Marble table is small, just enough for dinner or work. Most of the time, though, it's casual here, so we're like moving all around. We're eating outside, we're eating at the kitchen, we're eating here, but I do a lot of my work here. A lot of what I was trying to accomplish in this room was like a feeling of limitless, like you're one with the sky and one with nature, but also feeling really like at home and cozy. So everything has the capability of being like really wide and bright and open. But then if you really want to like snuggle up, you can find a corner here at the table or in the couch or by the fireplace. Like it offers you like the ability to sort of transform as you transform and as the day transforms. So like it's really bright and open, and then as it starts to get into the evening, you actually watch the sunset, and then your like energy goes down with it, and I kind of like that. So the staircase, even though it's not necessarily something that other people focus on, it was something that I really focused on. I wanted to see the spine of the staircase. I wanted to see like the architectural bones of it, and so I didn't want it finished. I didn't want it like capped. I just kept it open and like bulky. Another thing that I'm really into is like durability. I like to buy something and then have it for like 30 years. I've done that with clothing. I've done that with friends. I keep my friends close. And then also with like the design of this house, everything I feel is something that I can live with like forever. So I like to collect art, and I like to make art, and I don't have a lot of money. So a lot of my art is not expensive, but thoughtful, creative, and gems. So I did a gallery wall with a company called Framebridge, and they helped me frame and memorialize like 50 memories. And so I have like my father's pipe, you know, the 70s when like parents smoked in front of their children. I have my father's pipe. I have letters, love letters from my children. I have images of my family. This is actually from someone on Instagram who never met me but loved us as a family and then gifted this piece of art. I thought that was really special. My great-great-great-grandmothers, like, you know, generations and generations of Southern Black folks. Again, 5 generations of women, myself, my sister, my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. These are things that I never want to forget. This is really important to me. I do a lot of work with the Human Rights Campaign, and I'm an LGBT advocate. And like 2 decades ago, I didn't even know what that meant. And in this moment, I was standing in front of probably like 3,000 people speaking about what I now know, which is inclusivity, diversity, love. Those are the deepest things that we have to lean into. And so this really reminds me that we can not know something and then find our way into being really deep in a new world. So we can always shift, we can always change. There's my book cover, some gymnastics medals. I really love this wall because it is a real combination or exploration of my life, which is Black thought, Black love, Black culture, Black literature, Black history, Black family. So when you walk into this house and you see that, you kind of know my whole story. You know, it's like when you walk into my home, you kind of immediately know. This is a house full of family, children, language, communication. Also music, like there's Max Roach and Amir Questlove and Roy Hargrove. They're friends of mine and family members of mine. But this like kind of wall shows you exactly who we are as a family. One thing I didn't mention that I really love is this chandelier. And just as much as the wall of art, this is another art piece that I adore. It was gifted to me by a company called Stray Dogs. And it, as substantial as it looks, it's paper mache. So it's quite light, again, durable. And just, I've had it with me through 4 different homes. And I really love that piece. So wherever I am, you'll always see a slew of books. Many of them are read, many of them are about to be read, passed down from my grandmother, things that I bought. So this is a bench that someone made for me, and it always holds like an array of books. Most of these are art books. Chris O'Feely is one of my favorite artists. Harlem Renaissance. I'm never too far away from books. And I'm also never too far away from like halfway tattered, dilapidated, but still beautiful pieces. I found this one on the street of Brooklyn, like literally being tossed out in the garbage. And I called my cousin and I was like, yo, you gotta help me. Help me take this piece home. And so I've used it and I have never even repaired it. Like it's missing doorknobs. It's a little pulled, the paint, but I just really love it so much. The floral aspect, the green, shades of green. And it was in an era where pieces were made with some substance, so I've kept it just the way it is. And then if you look up, again, there's a family tapestry. So family is really like the basis of everything I do. All of my decisions, how I vote, where I live, how I spend my money, it's all about my family. And so that's just a reminder of like how essential it is above all else. One thing I want to point out that is like the quintessential piece in my home, and it speaks to who I am, is this painting. Naked bodies, unabashedly female bodies that are not clothed and not shy. And so my children sometimes question, why do we have naked women? And I say, because the body is beautiful, the body is powerful, and it's gorgeous, you know? So this is something I bought before I even had all the walls painted. I just had it here, propped it up, and I knew that this was going to speak to me and to really like my politics. So here you are, a wall of women. So there was nothing on this land but the land when I first when I first bought it. And so I have built this house from the ground up. Everything is exactly what I wanted. Everything is from my idea. Everything is new in a sense. And then I added in the texture and the heritage and the culture in the design work and in the little pieces, but the building itself is brand new. So much of my time is spent in the kitchen, cooking for my kids, but also cooking for myself. And then sort of decompressing also happens in the kitchen. I don't know about you, but I'm like chopping or washing dishes and processing the day, generating ideas, creative ideas. With that being said, I didn't want a massive kitchen. I didn't want an ornate kitchen or a fragile kitchen. So I did a really simple kitchen that looks out into the room, but it's manageable because I also don't like to spend a lot of time like prepping and cleaning. So I did a black sandstone island that's like, you know, a waterfall version. And then I did a stainless steel seamless sink countertop because I don't really have time to always get a cutting board. I'm just kind of like prepping and cutting and making a big mess, and I wanted something stainless steel. You could just wipe it down and keep it moving. Plus I love just an industrial look. I didn't even close the vent or cover the vent. I kept it exposed. I got all of my appliances, Home Depot, on sale. So like, you know, there's some imperfections here, which I love. In fact, you'll probably see like my refrigerator has a little ding in it. That's because it was an open box, like 75% off. These are the things that don't bother me. So I don't know if this is for everyone, but some of the imperfections didn't bother me and I was willing to save money on that. All my cabinetry is wood, custom black wood. But I'm really proud of this kitchen and I'm really comfortable in this kitchen. I can work with it, I can move around in it, perfectly, and my kids actually can get in here too and like cut and shop, and everything is safe and sound. Another thing is I have windows everywhere. I can look out and see the water. I can look out and see my dogs playing. Sometimes I've seen a couple of deer, some baby bears. Years ago, I bought a bunch of things from Switzerland, and this toucan, I believe, came from Switzerland. I've had it in my offices, I've had it in my kitchens, and this is probably like the 5th house that it's been in. I love her. She's like patinaed metal, and her eyes are blue, and she's just kind of like looking over us, making sure we're cool, we're okay. I also brought in a vintage mirror that has a sort of blur to it, so you're not like distracted by yourself, but you have some depth in this room. I think mirrors in kitchens are really interesting. They give you depth and they kind of bounce light around. And if you're by yourself in the kitchen, which I am a lot, you also sort of feel at home because you have another like person to interact with. I can turn around and see myself and smile. So with 5 kids, I'm cooking a lot, but also with me, I'm like trying to be more vegan, trying to be more raw, trying to be someone who cooks all their meals from scratch as opposed to buying things that are pre-made. Also at 54, I need to really protect my health in a way that I never did before. So I'm cooking a lot. We're cutting up, sweet potatoes, carrots, celery, spinach, anything leafy green, throwing in some chickpeas, cutting up some mushrooms, putting it in coconut milk, and then letting that stew for like an hour, and then serving that over quinoa. So that's something that everyone can make. Everyone can chop something up, throw it in the pot. It's like a 1-pot deal that I'm into these days. And then maybe some ramen noodles on top of that. Yeah, we're like into easy, fast, and healthy food these days. The weirdest thing is I don't use a dishwasher. I have a dishwasher, but I don't ever use it. I think it's like a waste of time, a waste of water. And so I'm always washing and then putting my things out to dry all the time. I don't even let my kids use the dishwasher. And so I found these stone drying mats on Amazon. They're like $20, but they're pretty. And you can take your dishes and put them there, and then within like a couple of minutes, they're dry. And there's like no mess. Love that. I also don't have a microwave, but I do have an air fryer. So that was like the trade-off. I was like, kids, no microwave. We've never had one. We're never getting it. But I have an air fryer. So that's like quick. You can throw some chickpeas in there and they taste like popcorn. You can throw some chicken breasts in there and it's like chicken fingers really fast. The air fryer and the griddle in the middle, game changers. Cutting boards, home goods, they're brilliant. I like these marble cutting boards as well. I found these at a vintage store. And I'm really into the natural sponges. I get skeeved out by regular sponges, so I get these off of Amazon. And you can pop off these tops and get the reusable ones. And that makes me feel happy. The other thing that I've hacked recently is the dishwashing soap and the sort of surface cleaners. I was using some things that I got on Amazon, but Koala Echo is a brand that I recently found. All natural, plant-based, suds for days, scent amazing, economical, and really, really healthy because my water is from my well. So I'm really living with the land and I don't want to dump in a bunch of chemicals into my land, but also on my dishes and in my body. So Koala Echo is something that I love. You know, I quickly realized when I started to build a house that every turn, every corner was another dollar spent. And so I opted for something really basic. So I have a barn. It's a modern barn with elevated ceilings, double height ceilings, 2 floors, lots of windows. Basically, I spent all my money on a floor to ceiling, 12-foot wide, 20-foot high wall of windows. And then there's scattered windows and skylights throughout, but essentially it's a really simple black barn with a lot of indoor-outdoor living. One of the things I really love is that from almost any place you can get outside. Any corner of this house you have access to outside. So I built a screened-in porch, substantially big, and oftentimes I just keep the doors wide open and we're flowing in and out. And I positioned the outside porch, the screened-in porch, to look at and to sort of be bookcased by two ponds. So I have a pond to the left and a pond to the right, and birds all around. I painted it all black. I tilted the ceilings, and then I have two chaise lounges from, I think, Wayfair on sale. African cloth throne, Farty blanket throne, so like a little mix of different cultures. And then if you look behind around this corner, I have a table, and it's Italian, and it is very pristine at one point. It's shellacked calf skin, but it was worn and torn and left outside and chipped, and I don't want to throw it out. So I just throw an African mud cloth over it. And then again, my really beautiful chairs that I also did in African cloth. I don't know, I'm into upcycling, and I'm not sure how I'm going to upcycle this table, but it definitely needs some love. I mean, you can see it's nicked here and there, and it's peeling, but I love it so much that I'll try to figure out how to revive her a bit. You can really hear the birds chirping. My neighbors have roosters. There's a lot of engagement with nature out here. So oftentimes I'm just coming out here to sit. I have books for days to read, but sometimes I'm just sitting and listening. You know, a lot of my time is just quiet out here, and then eating and playing with the dogs. And I built in a like sort of gated in backyard for the dogs, because at night it gets really dark. And again, we have bears and all kinds of animals, and so my dogs can be outside fenced in. I can be here on the patio listening, and like hours just go so slowly. It's really incredible out here. My dogs go with me everywhere. This is Patty, short for Patterson, and this is Zora. Zora, say hi. Hi, Zora. And they're with me everywhere. Even when the kids aren't with me, my dogs are with me. And they love it out here just as much. We run to the ponds. We chase rabbits. We've even seen a couple of snakes. So much for everyone out here. It's a little scary sometimes because it is really natural out here. And I'm with the elements and I'm with the animals. So I have to be cautious about that. But also, I find it really beautiful. Can you hear the roosters? One of the best things about this porch is it's good for all seasons. So I have a heater for the winter. I have fans for when it gets really hot in the summertime. And we just kind of lounge and like take the day slowly out here. It's really incredible. Let me give you just a little tour of outside. So I built a space for my dogs because my dogs mean a lot to me. And it's just an enclosed backyard, which why would you enclose, you know, the property that you own? But it's for my little dogs, and I love it. So I'm on the porch, and my dogs are in the backyard, and I do feel safe, and I know that they're safe. But you can look this way, and you'll hear the pond to the left, and then down that way is another pond. My trees are enormously tall. Sometimes I see eagles circling, and then I get a little nervous for my dogs, but I love to see like what the land looks like when you just leave it alone. And I haven't landscaped anything. I haven't taken down shrubs. I haven't spent any money on landscaping yet. And I really like this moment where it's raw space, and I'm just kind of getting to know the property. My style has always been very personalized. I have a love for gold. I have a love for woods. And I have a love for sunshine. So I brought all of that into this house. There's a lot of gold of different hues, lots and lots of wood, different tones, and sunshine from every corner of the house. But I also like textures. So I have cork floors in some areas. I have tile from floor to ceiling in some areas. A furnace, a wood-burning fireplace that's antique. Big, giant, enormous, like extra wide cement sinks. Everything that I've sort of collected over the years as an idea, I thought I sort of threw them into this house. So my style is very much about the places that I've traveled, the people I know, and the worlds that I've entered, and with a burst of color and enthusiasm. I think you can see that in both the way I decorate my home and in the way I sort of adorn my body, golds and colors and bursts of color and excitement. I'm going to invite you upstairs to my library and my bedroom. Every place I've ever lived has overflowing amounts of books. I love books as much as I love art, as much as I love travel. And so here's just like some of my books. And really these are, many of them are like the oldest books, like a book that I had in high school or a book that my great-grandmother gifted me. Some of them are signed copies by James Baldwin. So I've displayed them as art, but we also use them. The floors are cork. I love the texture of cork, the way it feels on the foot, but it's also sound absorbing, so that's kind of cool. And antibacterial, which I also love because dogs and stuff. Another one of the chairs in a different material, black velvet. And this painting is one of my favorites. It's a new painting by an old friend named Kilo Quiche. She used to work for me. She's an established musician, artist, and a really good friend. And so she painted that and then gifted it to me. And I love it. It's lots of colors and I love portraits. This brass light, also really simple, one of my favorite things. This little, I found this at a street fair in Brooklyn on a corner one day in Williamsburg, and I just love the colors. I've reupholstered pillows with some more African fabric. My dogs sit on them, my kids sleep on them. This makes for a really cozy space. Yeah, I like to make little moments in spaces that like pull you in. So like you're encouraged to sit down with this woman and maybe read a book or just think about people that are different from you or similar to you. I like to kind of create pauses in the moment, in the day. This couch also gives a good reason to pause. Another Brooklyn street find. I found it on the street, took off the legs, did not reupholster it, and like we're often sleeping here, resting. I have no TV in the house, so if my kids are here and I'm here, we might be playing board games, word games. We might be arguing, sleeping, laughing. But the idea that you can gather without electronics, and then your mind kind of goes to the river or the trees and then back to people. This is like how I wanted to spend the next 50 years of my life, where I'm like engaged with people and nature and less with gadgets. And if you look out that way, you can actually see the pond that we swim in. Much of the inspiration when I was thinking about the design of the house was, like, how can we all live together? All different ages, all different like activity levels. How can we all be in one space together and make it work? So it was like the durability, functionality, private spaces, open spaces, high design, because I'm a really visual person. So like everything from the different types of wood that I've used to the cables that I've put in for the staircase to the windows. This was all like very intentional. I needed the space to kind of work for all of us, and you'll see a mix of all of us in it. Different ages, different needs, different sensibilities. Skylights for days. Love some sunshine coming in. I've always been obsessed with like French doors, and this is not an authentic French door, but it kind of gives you like quaintness. And so the glass door was something I thought of. Black handles everywhere because I hate fingerprints, and my kids are like dirty. So black handles everywhere. I have recently counted out how many careers I've had, and I think it's like 15. I've done so many things, and they've all been about moments of deep, deep interest. So I was in the music industry, I was in the fashion industry as the director of PR for Zach Posen. I was launched my own beauty company, my own beauty boutique, and my own beauty brand. I've worked in the circus as an acrobat, in publishing, both magazine and book. I mean, I've done so many things. And I think I'm also a nightclub co-owner of a live performance space in New York, Joe's Pub at the Public Theater. Everything that I've done has been about a deep interest, something I wanted to explore or figure out. And over the years, I've sort of combined those career paths into a really deep appreciation for humanity. And so now, as an artist, as a writer, which I consider an artist, an author, I champion for LGBT rights and for equality. And you can see some of that, I think, in my house as well. I mean, I always have an enormous library. I also have remnants all around the house of the fight for equality across the times. So civil rights, women's rights, LGBT rights. You'll see that throughout my house. But I think when you're looking at my career path, it's as diverse and as sorted and as eclectic as my style of design. So now that we're entering the bedroom, I wanted to make it a distinct, separate energy from the open space of the whole house. And really, I'm the only one who's spending much time in here. Everything else is like free reign for the family, but then this is my private space. So I did a sort of like, glass, pretty door. And then a little hallway. I decorated the hallway with a runner from Zurich. And on the walls, you'll see myself and my daughter. I have one daughter, 4 boys, 1 daughter. And then this is my bedroom. Very feminine. I did a wallpaper from the brand Lit, and it has monkeys and a wild forest and vines, and you can kind of get lost in the wallpaper alone. And I did the wallpaper around the door, and the door just opens up into the sky. So there's no deck, but you still get the whole energy from outside, which is like what I wanted for every room. And then I have 2 black sort of oval leather chairs, a throw from Home Goods, some vintage lighting everywhere, and then this bed. I wanted a sturdy block of wood. I wanted to like be sleeping in the trees, so I made my bed just out of wood, and I made it extra wide because I like to stretch. I actually sleep horizontally now. I heard it's like a fun thing to do when you want to rejigger your brain. So instead of sleeping there, I switch it around and I sleep horizontally. It's just been something I've been doing for about 5 years now. Another rug, which was a hand-me-down from a friend. And this is my desk. I've written books on this. I've come up with ideas for companies. I have brainstormed. This desk I found as a throwaway. I think it was a bank was throwing away a bunch of desks. And it's marble and steel and wood. And it's a ton. And I bought it from every house to house to house. And somehow we got it up here. And so this is my workspace. These are some press clippings of mine. I typically don't do much with my press. I look at them, I smile, and then I fold them up and tuck them in a drawer. And I've been in a lot of magazines. O Magazine, New York Family, Domino, W, Vogue, Japanese Vogue, dozens and dozens of magazines. But I wanted to put a few of them on the wall just to remind myself. This is no one else is really seeing this except you. But this is just to remind myself that I'm doing something with my time that has had impact on people. So brag to yourself a little bit. That's my brag wall. This is a framed tapestry. This used to be a bedspread, and it was on my bed years ago, and I loved it so much, and it was tattered and worn, and so I minimized it and framed it. Again, bursts of colors, peacocks, and just optimism. That's basically what I see in this tapestry, optimism. What else can I tell you about this? Skylights, fans, and exposed ventilation. Again, it's pretty, it's girly, but it's also feminine and womanly, and then also raw and industrial. Pink is one of my favorite colors. Some people think, you don't look like a pink kind of woman. I love pink. I love hot pink. I love dusty pink. And so I found these light covers at IKEA. I don't even know if I put them upright. They're kind of thrown up there. But again, they sort of set the tone. This is my room. This is my space. It's very feminine. It's very Jodie. My favorite color is pink. So I have pink light covers. Sliding barn door, which was a last minute addition to my bathroom. bathroom is sort of tightly positioned near the hallway, so I couldn't have a door that swung in and out. So a friend of mine gave me their barn door that they no longer needed, and it was perfect. I knew that I wanted a big, expansive bathroom because in reality, I can have 10 bathrooms in my house and like all the kids are in mine. Like we only need one. And so I thought, okay, I'll just do a really big bathroom with like space that's unused and may never be used. So I have like benches that kind of wrap around the whole bathroom and go down that way. And they're like, my friends are like, what are the benches for? I'm like, I don't know. So we just sit, we can talk, we can twist our hair, we can condition our dreads, clip our nails, do whatever we want to do in here. And oftentimes, although I say this is my space, it becomes the family space. So benches, showers. I don't have one bathtub in this house. People kept telling me, you can't resell the house without bathtubs. I don't care. I don't take baths, don't have time for baths. I love a good shower, and so got the shower. I want to pull some attention to my sinks. Spent a lot of time figuring out what kind of sinks I wanted. I knew I wanted something sturdy, like substantial, and everything I kept going back to was a fortune, like $10,000, $5,000. I didn't have $500 for each sink because I have 3 bathrooms. So what I ended up doing was going on Pinterest, finding the style that I wanted, which was a solid cement sink, and then creating them in, I think, South America. I found someone in South America. They made them for a couple of $100s. They shipped them, 3 of them, and then I put them on top of a Wayfair vanity. So all in all, it was probably like $300. Vintage mirror hanging above. Brass spout, also found on Pinterest. And my sort of semi-modern toilet from Home Depot on sale. Also found my gold fixtures in the shower on Amazon. And I like them. They're not flimsy. They work really well. I have the rain shower and then also the handheld, and I love them. Some of the things that I found also on Instagram, these towels, you can like shop. If you know your style and if you know what if your eye is attracted to certain things, you can find your attractions on Instagram. And so I found these really sort of like vibrant towel sets on Instagram, and I love them. I love wallpaper. Sometimes it can be really expensive. I chose a sort of more elevated wallpaper in my bedroom, but then I found a really great wallpaper on Amazon, like a stick and peel. Let me show it to you. So cheetahs, wild cheetahs. It's kind of my thing. It's a stick and peel wallpaper, and it's really rich, decadent, and reminds me a little bit of like a Gucci aesthetic. It also reminds me of one of my favorite authors, Glennon Doyle. I just love it. And it was really easy. You just, steal and stick and peel and stick is something you can do by yourself. And so it takes a little bit of effort, but you totally don't have to hire anyone to do it. And then I just did a metal pipe for hanging and wood, similar to my bookshelves for my clothing. I don't have a lot of stuff up here. I use the same 5 pairs of five t-shirts and 2 pairs of jeans. So this is like exactly what I needed. My boudoir. I have a really full house. I have 5 children, 2 dogs. And so there's a lot of language, a lot of music, a lot of energy. And I think that really is what, for me, feels like a home as opposed to just a house. But sometimes I like a really quiet home too. So oftentimes I come up here by myself without the kids, without all of the distractions of the city and the energy that all of us bring in one space. So for me, there is always a place for history in a home, always a place for language and discussion in a home, always a place for almost conflicting ideas in a home. And then there is always quiet and peace in my home. So I think, there's not one thing, but it's a lot of these sort of like things that actually look like a mini city in my house.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in the Hudson Valley visiting the cozy cottage of Toby Usnick and Harlan Bratcher. Toby is head of communications at the British Consulate in New York City, and Harlan is a retail executive and entrepreneur who has successfully developed and introduced major lifestyle brands globally over the past 25 years. They live on a gorgeous property in Red Hook, New York that includes trails, a pond, a barn, and beautiful views of the Hudson River. So come along with us as Toby and Harlan and their two adorable Jack Russell Terriers show us around this stunning property. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Toby.
And I'm Harlan.
Welcome to our home, Horizon Hill, here in the Hudson Valley in New York. We'd love to show you around, and maybe even our dogs, Jackie and Fred, will join us.
Come on in.
In the Hudson Valley of New York State, about 100 miles north of New York City, on the Hudson River. We look over the Hudson River at a nature preserve called Tivoli Bays, which is twice the size of Central Park. And the home that you're seeing today, our home, is called Horizon Hill. We didn't know that when Harlan bought it in 1990, but we found out years later by a woman who visited whose grandparents grew up here.
I think it was like a little love shack. When I first bought it in 1990, every window had heart shutters. A little too cute for me. There's still one that we can show you, adorable, but there was no kitchen or bathroom, so to build a stone house like this to come and look at the views, it had to be a romantic reason.
Now we're going to go into the house, into the living room. You should know, though, that this house is built to celebrate nature, so we live as much of the year as possible outside as well as inside. So we're going to go inside, come on along, but you'll also see that it's very much about taking all of this in, from the trees and the chairs here. So we're going to go into the living room first. This is the original stone cottage from 1938, and you can see the stone up there that's engraved. All right, let's go on inside. Let me bring the dogs. Okay. Our dogs are getting in trouble. So now we are inside the original stone cottage. This is the living room, the sleeping loft, and the fireplace, which is very comfortable. And one of our Jack Russells, Jackie, who's been out and about, so they're part of our family. We rescue Jack Russells, right?
I was really inspired when I bought the house in 1990. We'll show you later the potting shed, which was over here close to the house, and moved it. But the previous owner actually threw pots. But I was really into American arts and crafts pottery, so I collect them. And they're really good American pieces all around. And this is where we spend most of our time in the winter, by the fire, when we can't be outside as much. But this room is more about that period and this great arts and crafts period in the United States and the world, really.
Including, you got the double wide, the wood floors. It's a fun structure, this house, the design. You have the sleeping loft, which you might want to go up there. The design around the staircase that goes down to a beautiful original slate stone floor. But look at this design feature here. They literally built another door here, but then this whole built-in bookshelf. Again, this is all original cabinetry. So it's a very small house, but it's very efficient, very fluid, and again, meant to be living outdoors 24/7. And we have some really fine art, but we generally tend to have things that you want to live in and live, people don't have to take their shoes off in their house. It's meant to be lived in.
It's a lived-in house.
As you can tell by our dogs.
Yeah, you can tell they can come in muddy. It's totally cool. So the beams, I did a little research and we'll show you in a moment when we walk through the rest of the house, but love this so much. And in the 60s, somebody had added an addition, which was a terrible addition. It was with nothing, it was stuff from the 60s. So I tore it down and did a lot of research, found the original. These are really, 18th century beams, authentic. And the plaster is actually it's called Irish plaster. And so I found a source for the original beams. When we show you the dining room and kitchen and the bedrooms, you'll see we used the same materials after we remodeled that part. But this is exactly how it was. All we did was, paint. And found the original family from 1938 that did the Irish plasterwork. They were living in Westchester, and they would come up and do the plasterwork for us.
And you will pick up here, it tends to be a lot of arts and craft furniture that Harlan in particular collected through the years. So it's sort of that wood vernacular, but then also you'll see like this sort of Moroccan-inspired stuff here. Just up the road here is the home of Frederick Church called Olana, and it was Moroccan-inspired. And that Hudson River School of Painters, which is what this beautiful vista inspired, is part of the influence. It's also reflected in the house with the Kaleems that we have on these sofas in the winter and the pillows.
Absolutely. And so when the house, this was the original cottage, this stone living room, and there was a window there like that. Originally there were probably 2 day beds, and this was a little sitting area table to have something, and that was a bed. That was it. And then so in the addition, when we remodeled this, I wanted to have sort of an arch reminiscent of the front door looking at the Hudson and the Catskills into the dining room. This painting here it's a Troyon, which is French, but it's this Empire period from the 1800s, similar to when Frederick Church was painting in the area. It just was reminiscent of that same period. There was fine art mixed with this like rustic style, and which we love.
And you've got the rosewood
all the pottery is mostly American, but there are some French pieces and Dutch pieces from the same period.
And then we also have over here, we had a wonderful neighbor who's since passed. Kate was her name, Kate and Lou, who lived across the street. And Kate was a sculptor, and she gifted to us when she was dying. It was a horsewoman, and she actually sculpted this and had it done in bronze. And it's a beautiful tribute to her. But Harlan also grew up on horses. We ride, but she was just, we feel her presence with this. She also gave us the Remington upstairs, the replica of the horse and cowboy, which is a Remington-inspired work. And so throughout this home, you will find not only artwork and things that family and friends have given us that honor them, but we've also had, with a lot of the plantings around the property, we've honored our passing friends and parents with honor specimen trees, and oftentimes some of their ashes spread around those. So you'll have trees, Harlan's mom, my mom, our friend Michael, all the dogs we've had. But it's not morbid, it's about life and energy. When this was originally just a little love shack, there's the sleeping loft. So come on up and see it. It's still very functional. We have a pull-out sofa. So this is all built in as well. This is the original carpentry, the shelving. You can see how, excuse me one second, hon. This was our friend Kate's gift to us.
Remington.
But all of this original carpentry, and like they don't build it like this anymore, really.
Okay.
And again, porcelain and pottery we've collected through the years in Laos, Cambodia.
But if you, like in the view from here of like the gardens and the potting shed, which we'll see later, it's again, every little space has an outdoor, it was designed that way.
And it pulls out a sofa bed. We had that custom fit to come in here. And then this is our work area in a COVID area. Harlan and I are also pilots, so you can see our photographer friend Philip did this portrait of us in his plane, filming us in our plane over the Hudson Valley in the fall. It's quite a beautiful shot.
People try to make things, turn them into something they're not. The reason, when I first was looking at this house, looking in the area in 1990, I thought I needed a big, Greek revival, 8-bedroom mansion kind of thing, just, with 2 sheepdog kind of thing. And I realized, I hate that. What am I doing? And I ran across this and I thought, wow. And it was so special. There were no gardens, no views, but it had such soul.
So as we all know, no matter how big the house or the home or the apartment, people always end up in the kitchen. So why don't we all go down to the kitchen and see where we hang out or not? So come on into the kitchen, the living room. This is all, again, about the views and the outdoor coming indoor. So this is our dining room and our kitchen. It's very small, but huge place to entertain.
Yeah, and it's small, but this is the dining room. And every room in the house opens to nature. And so actually our little dining room is 1,500 acres to the Hudson River with forever green views.
So come on, have a look.
And what's
we always have guests sit on this side so they can take a look at this, which is pretty spectacular. And
so,
again, we have this open as much as possible throughout the year. We also have a little table there where we sit out sometimes and have our breakfast and things.
This was, I knocked this down, and this is where I was talking earlier about the beams. The plasterwork is all same period as the original house that was built in '38 from the 18th century beams and the Irish plasterwork.
And the arts and crafts chandeliers throughout the house.
And all of the arts and crafts, so we collected mission. Monks had chandelier and sconces we have in the bedroom and the dining room here and in some bathrooms. Now this is a great story about, you know, the kitchen is small, but also to have the views and sit here. It's nice to pass things this way, so it's a super functional thing. But the woodwork, if you notice here in the arch over there, this is in Albany in the 70s, the governor at the time, there was a sister oak bar like the Plaza Hotel, the Oak Room or Oak Bar. There was a sister one just like it in Albany. They tore it down, and the panel work and this hand carving was salvaged. And so it was also built in that same period, so it was reused here. And in the kitchen, you know, is similar with wanted to keep in the arts and crafts. The table, by the way, let me back up. The table found from a gentleman's club, whatever, and so an antique dealer bought it in Atlanta. It was that arts and crafts period, but that came from Atlanta, and that's really a library table. But I thought it was perfect in this small place to use like that.
I would also add in, through the years, we try and work with friends and family who are talented, gifted artisans. So you'll see some of the painting throughout the house is Trompe l'oeil. Our friend Nancy Barnett, who's a very successful decorative artist, did work on it.
And Michael Harder.
And our friend Michael Harder, who at the time, actually Harlan's ex, who he was with for several years, helped a lot as a trained architect with a lot of the aesthetics in the house. And you'll see more and more features throughout. We'll point out where we've had friends and family helping us.
So we move into the kitchen now, the actual kitchen. Again, you know, when you move in the kitchen, you can't help but notice the alley, the garden shed, the potting shed, and the lich gate going to the guest house. But so we love to cook. It's this big, it's tiny, but it's like a big open kitchen. So all of the design was copper countertops, hand hammered. These were all a craftsman did here for us. The notion of like big refrigerators, tall white boxes was horrible. So we have all they're hidden. I really wanted to find tiles that picked up all of nature, the bluestone, the colors of the green, the Catskills blues in the sky. So these were handmade by an artist in Colorado Springs. And it took me 8 years to finally find something that worked. But it's worth it.
Absolutely. And again, the beams we put through again, you'll see some of the collecting, the pottery that we collect. And again, I have to focus on the views, whether you're looking down the LA here or out at the Hudson Valley. Even if you're cooking in the kitchen, you get to enjoy the views as well as your company. I should have also pointed out another artist friend of ours, Val Schaff, very successful photographer and artist. Yeah. She's done books with Roy Blount Jr. She worked with Martha Stewart on her books and magazines through the years. She's the photographer who did these two portraits of our dog Jackie and in our previous Jack Russell scrubs. So they're quite well done, and not everyone would put their dog portraits on the walls, but we happen to rescue and support a refuge that does rescue Jack Russells, so they're present in our lives here.
A little dog crazy. So, Toby and I, lucky enough to be able to travel a lot, and we were in India, and typically in India, your guide is going to take you to a salesman and they sell you stuff. And I'm in retail, I knew what was happening, and I looked at the guy and I said, really? Okay, here's what I'd like. I'm going to send you, it's like, if you can do it, you're on. If not, no deal. So this was made for this table and this room and the colors, and I gave them the design, and we have a couple of them in one of the bedrooms. But again, it was made for you see the brown shape inside for the table and chairs.
With that sort of arts and craft inspired look and feel versus what you might find in an Indian vernacular. And it took what, maybe a year or
About
6
a year.
months? Yeah, but it was a great investment.
Yeah, the doorway here, that's an entrance. There are only 2 bedrooms in the main house here, and these used to be doors to the bedrooms. So this was from that same
Oak room.
the oak room in Albany that we reclaimed these things. This was actually a bookcase. So you go through this arch, and this is where we keep all the table linens.
Again, with the salvaged wood across.
Yeah,
the
it's
top
all
of the door.
salvaged, and it's very functional. Pottery, liquor cabinet, etc.
When you love a home like this, it's never done, but I would say that this was in storage for many years. You have cash flow challenges no matter who you are, so you do things in phases. So this was about 10, 12 years ago, we did a slight addition, which we'll show you, and this we put in then, but it had been in storage for, at least 15 years prior to that? Whereas this had been done, this part of the salvaging was used earlier on, but this came later. Harlan and I both come from very large families, and our mothers were widowed when they were young, so Harlan's mom with 8 kids and my mom with 5. So at our homes there was always room at the table for more, and that's how we live our lives. So we always have people over, and we tend to always add more. And so through the years we've had big and small things here. We do a lot philanthropically in terms of big 200, 250 person parties, either for Planned Parenthood or just sometimes to have a party with no strings attached. A really emotional time was when we bought the barn, which you'll see later, in 2001, and we had it all restored, the ponds and things, and we were going to have a big Oktoberfest, and then 9/11 happened. And we all hemmed and hawed what we were going to do. And in the end, we decided that people needed to exhale. So we had an amazing 250-person hoedown and dancing and food, and people did exhale. They danced, they had fun. Yeah. And that's large scale, but we also just do small things as well. Why don't we have a look at the primary bedroom, which is also built to be as much inside and out year-round. It's this way. Okay, so now we're in the bedroom. We did about 10 years ago extend this out, but it's still a rather small room. We also have ample storage room because we basically have drapes around the closet. But more practically, again, it's about outdoor living. So you can go in and out any number of ways. I actually just wrote a new book, so that's our nightstand reading, the Connecting the Dots with my friend Samir. And then, again, if you look, this is Harlan's genius idea, and also on my TikTok, Funkle Toby, the fun uncle you never had. This got a lot of hits. I think I've now got 1.1 million hits. This was, Harlan, you want to take us through this?
Sure. Yeah.
Just so if I go missing, look in the tub.
Well, the idea of this, again, keeping it, we talked earlier about keeping it small, what it should be. This is a really special room, not just because we sleep here, but at that time, we both were, I was living on a plane 7 months of the year. I literally was on a plane 7 months a year. So I was used to lavatories, and we did a stone addition, and in bed we wanted to have a fire, see a fire and see nature. But we definitely needed a tub. It's before we put in a pool, and I said, here. And I came up with the idea of, what if it was under the staircase, because the house is on a hill? And they said, it's impossible. I said, it's possible. And this is what we came up with.
It's a Japanese soaking tub.
It's a Japanese
slides
copper
back, and then you have the faucet and all come out there. But ironically, since we put in the tub and keep the pool and keep it open year round, we don't use this as much.
But it's all heated floors. The tiles, this is a really beautiful thing that no one would know. These are all 1903 California art tiles. Again, this amazing period of ceramics and architecture. And I was in LA a lot for Sony. I worked at Sony, and in this antique dealer, I went in and they had these boxes of these tiles. And I said, what are these? And they told me. I said, oh, this is perfect for this thing I'm doing. And I said, can you just send them to me? I bought them. And he goes, no. He goes, I'll send you one and see if it makes it. I was super nervous. So he sent it and I got it and it was chipped. And he had his father drive his old Cadillac from LA in the trunk of the car, all these tiles, and hand deliver them to us. But it's a really amazing thing. So everything has, again, a reason, some real soulful, fun stuff. So as I was saying earlier, to keep the view open and have this, like we do in every room, have nature. These two, like a telephone booth. The shower here, well, nothing, remember, it's cold here in the winter. All the floors are radiant, the walls are radiant. So it's fantastic. And and the same thing, this little lavatory, that's all you need. We do have a little bigger bathroom, but this is perfect for our bedroom. And it's so functional and basic, but works.
And these doors are usually in the winter would be closed, but now come out to our real living room, which is Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And 50 acres that we've accumulated through the years, we live outdoors as much as possible, and we're better
Always.
for it.
We're standing and moving, gardening, and
so there's bluestone all around the house. The house is built, you can sit anywhere, and we've got seating everywhere because there's a view for wherever you sit. And our Fred is out there hunting something. Fred.
This is why it's heaven for Jack Russells and people.
And people. We have expanded this sort of our outdoor kitchen and dining room as well. And if you come over here, you can see the situation of the two axes of the house. So again, this is our outdoor living area. We're here as much as we can. Lots of fun, big and small parties. So dining table, and then here's the view of the Hudson River again, which Fred is going to show you. And then the LA is going back north-south. And we've continually invested in that. Harlan mentioned earlier the little heart-shaped shutter. That's the other one we've kept up. We have a very wonderful friend, Chris Lee, who's a Malaysian-German architect who's got a weekend home here, he and his husband. And he designed this stone wall here to be in the vernacular of this area, but when you go down to the pool, which we'll show you, it's deliberately meant to be a scale that's appropriate and to hide the pool. But when you're down below, we jokingly call it the Great Wall of Red Hook, because it's quite a lot of stonework.
So we'll go down to the pool now, our little secret pool hidden. And Toby and I, we go in this pool every day, all year long.
Year round.
And 2 feet of snow even.
It's a plunge pool, basically.
It's a plunge pool. Because again, you don't need more.
And we keep it at about 90 to 100 degrees year round, and there's a retractable cover, so it's quite deer proof and safe and fairly environmentally friendly as these things go. The Great Wall of Red Hook that our friend Chris Lee designed, and in that sort of stone vernacular, you can see up above the pine shed we have an outdoor shower and a place to kind of enjoy.
One of the funny things, again, people judge you, and like the contractor, when we were planning this and had them out and they're ready to start digging, and I'll never forget, he was looking at us and he said to me, they're shocked, and I heard them whispering, and I know they're talking about like what's going on, and he said, and I go, what's up? And the backhoe was here, and he said, Mr. Bratcher, we can make it twice as big for the same price. And I just looked down and went, dig.
So we put steps in here for the dogs to get in and out. Some of our dogs have liked to swim. And then we sit there and have our drinks and chat. And it's also salt water, which is really quite easier on the skin. And then we have, like the sunbrella fabric, which has really served us well. We have a friend, Darlene, another friend, who's a great seamstress, and she's done everything from these cushion covers, the pillows,
she's great.
Drapes, and it's wonderful to be able to support local talent, and they are with you for decades, and we really value that.
And the things are special. The tables and the stools, these stool tables, they're from Bali, and there's a German artist. They're from a solid trunk, teak trunk, not like veneered, and these were shipped over, but they're beautiful pieces. You can tell, like the stools, that's from a solid giant piece, not veneered. But it's a lovely, quiet sanctuary here.
And our friend Michael Rauschenberg, who was the broker who sold us our apartment in the city, and then when we sold it 25 years later, sold it again for a record price, he gifted to us as a thank you this beautiful Mugo pine. He sadly died a little over a year ago, so now we kind of cherish having that there to be reminded of him. And when his husband comes over, he gets to see it as well. So it's we always feel like these friends and family are still with us.
Yeah, we plant something for most people that pass. So.
Yeah. So, and if we keep going this way across the ridge, you'll see the potting shed, and then you can see the pond, which is also quite swimmable and lovely.
This is the potting shed that used to be over here near the house, and we moved it here to create this. It's the only formal garden in the property. But what's interesting about this is, again, found objects, soul. When first bought the place, started trying to put things in, it was overgrown in the woods, no gardens.
1990.
Step hit 1990, for early 90s. Digging, you would hit things occasionally. All of these bricks were old formal gardens about a foot under the ground. They were all excavated, and we reused them. It's the same brick on the potting shed, but they're from the 1800s. And so the shed is great, and it's a real working garden shed.
We just had to replace the shingles, which took a couple weeks, but it's in good form.
Take this off.
And we do a lot of work here. We store things here, but we are regularly potting things. We're very active on the trails and the lawn, so there's lots of equipment here. And we also had some birds, little finches nesting in there more recently. So tell us about it.
It's a collection of pots. I mean, it's a potting shed, but everything, it didn't look like this. This was probably the outhouse for the one-bedroom cottage originally. Again, it's a potting shed, and that, to me, that wasn't just ceramic sewing pots. To me, it was more about gardening, because it is a love. I've learned everything here. But instead of having a bunch of bags that things live in, we created in these cabinet tops, lift up. I mean, this gets a little moist from the soil, so I've got to do something. But it's full of potting soil. So literally, you take your pot, and you got, instant, easy, plant potted. And different times of year, in and out. It's a great way to do it, because people won't use it or won't do things if it's too hard, and this makes it easy. This is a funny side. You'll see one out by the shower, but these little stools, they're Philippe Starck. Not what you would think. And he designed them for the Hudson Hotel in New York, and it was hysterical. I thought, I don't like gnomes normally, but thought that was pretty funny for this shed. It'd be great. But they are notable, Philippe Starck. And I bought them in Milan at the license that creates them for him. And it's so funny, I literally carried them on a plane on one of my trips and went through the security. And in Italian, they thought they were children. I was like smuggling children.
And we use them here for the outdoor shower. So people can sit here.
And speaking of the outdoor shower.
So we have the other piece to that, the twin, and then the lotions and potions. And you know, if you want more privacy, this little repurposed shutter works just fine. But who doesn't like an outdoor shower? Why don't we go take Fred and Jackie for their daily walk on the trails? We'll go through the lich gate and down toward the pasture in the barn. Let's do a walk on the trails. It's a big part of the reason we're up here in the first place. This has been an accumulation of property through the years and a lot of heavy clearing of invasives, so come join us.
And during COVID, there was no 6-foot distancing. Fred still has to be on a leash because he's not trained. And he will not come back if he
ready
sees
for his
an animal.
close-up.
Jackie stays close. See, she is off the leash.
Through the years during COVID, we really were here all the time and clearing more and more. So you'll see there's largely just vertical lines here. A lot of the fallen trees and things we've cut up, rolled, burnt. But, you know, it's always constant. We're picking things up. And then the dogs love it here. And when you get down below, you'll see we have put in trails because the wetlands are protected. And so we have beautiful boardwalks to make sure that we're not tampering with Mother Nature.
This way.
And again, we're still on
Jackie.
the ridge for the full property. The Hudson River is parallel here.
Yeah.
And we'll go down to the mid-tour, mid loop.
And over the years, you can see all the trails are moss covered. So you could walk barefoot, really.
And we've had some parties here. We had an Oktoberfest last year. Just put a little fire together and brought in some knockwurst and beer pretzels in the keg and got people out into the woods. It is interesting how many people come up here who say they want the mountains and hiking, and they either never go or else they go way across the river where we have Tivoli Bays right here with creeks and falls and all kinds of things.
And also our city friends, they're a little, when you say walk on the woods, they get very nervous and they go, don't worry, you don't have to touch the woods. This is
free.
an example down here. You'll see they're basically a mile and a half loops, and they're all moss covered and about 6 feet wide.
So this would take you back to the pool and the barn and the pasture, this trail. This way will take us toward the southern edge of the property where we uncovered some great old stone walls from the 1800s. Believe it or not, this area used to be agriculture, so this growth is probably maybe 100 years old
orchards.
at most.
This entire part of the country are all apple orchards.
So just for fun, because I spend so much time here, I bought online some of these trail map. It's a little aged
It's not a
now.
state part. It's like our fun, like friends walking. They go, what if I get lost? They said, you will not get lost.
When you
They're
do
marked.
hike New York State trails, like Tivoli Bays across the way, they have different colors, and that's how you'll know which trail you're on.
The color of
I
marker.
bought red, blue, and gold for ours because we have three different
Paths.
three different paths in this system.
Yeah.
You can't get lost, though. It's one big loop, but it's kind of fun.
And then there's some fun signs that just say, walk with the arrow. See, this is Grandirosa flora.
That's bad.
If you touch this, it's spiky. This will be full of white flowers. And that's invasive, and I get rid of it. You have to pull it up by the roots. But another fun thing, this is not invasive. These are wild raspberries.
But you can kind of see, like, this has fallen recently.
Yeah, this just happened from the wind the other day.
Yep. You never know when a storm comes what's going to happen.
There's one of the oldest boardwalks here. We're going to go to the new path here and then come back around this loop, so we'll cross them. But you see, you go that way or this way.
Yeah, there's one of the first boardwalks that we put in over there.
And during COVID, he's got this amazing, it's like Toby's boot camp of
That's a good workout.
burning logs and stacking like fallen stuff and burning it. He moves logs everywhere.
I move logs. You're always given the option of taking the road less traveled, right? Yeah. Left or right. There's no wrong or right. So I mentioned earlier our friend Barbara Huey, who's a great conservationist and a botanist, and she helped us both figure out which way to lay the trails, but then to put in, for example, these boardwalks, because even though it's dry right now, throughout the year this will get quite wet.
You see, this is all wet, and it is wet now in places, but the kind of plant life, the ferns, the skunk cabbage.
You don't want to tamper with it because it's all eventually makes its way down to the Hudson. So we put boardwalks in. Before we were here, we both spent a lot of time on Fire Island, the shelter island off of Long Island, and this is very common, the boardwalks there, so we sort of mimicked that.
And this was great. Most people will never get to experience. Wetlands are beautiful. They're exquisite, and there are rules in doing anything like this. You can't use machinery, for example. So all of this was the posts were dug by hand. Everything was carried in by hand.
And you'll see a little chipmunk here that I think Fred's missing, but
come on.
Our friend Michael Harder, when he passes, he wants to be cremated. He wants his ashes put here. So we call this sort of green lawn, like a cemetery. But
they're great little places to meditate, sit, read. It's our own little Central Park.
We'll do this 10-minute loop, and you get the whole thing. You won't need to come back again for B-roll. But
if you do want to, Caesar, just do B-roll, let us know, and we'll let you walk around, do whatever.
You know, going back to your earlier question, Ashley, like where this all goes, you know, this is not, you know, it's not Yosemite and it's not Mount Rushmore, but it's still part of the history of the Hudson Valley, and the natural stewardship of it is important to us. So this combined with the house is a nice addition to those 1,500 acres.
But one thing you also, this is like a giant aviary. In the mornings, it's crazy. The sounds and in the early evening. He's jealous.
This is dry today, but this is the main creek that goes down to the Hudson when it's
this
full.
way to the Sawkill.
So Harlan mentioned there's two ridges, the main ridge where our house is, and then this is the second one. So as you go over that ridge, it's big wetland, lots of waterfowl, some beavers. And then further beyond that, lots of farmland. This is a very big agricultural area. Those who know New York City or the Hudson Valley would recognize the name Miglarelli. Kenny Miglarelli is a friend and farmer here. He's the largest purveyor of produce to the farmers markets in New York City, as well as here in Rhinebeck. And so over the ridge, you get to the wetlands and then the farm fields. And Gregg Farm is another one where you have a lot of great farm stands and local produce. So there's a bountiful sort of set of options for dining and cooking. But see how this has just grown in, this moss, through the years. And when it snows, we haven't had a lot lately, but it's lovely for snowshoeing as well, or cross country. But if you're cutting up trees and hauling big logs regularly, like every weekend I do, that's a great workout. And of course, you have to wear long pants because poison ivy, as well as ticks. But
bee spray.
Essentially, if you look around here, you're not going to see a lot of thick grapevines that are killing trees or down or half-dead trees because we've been clearing it. A lot of ferns have come in. You'll see here these beautiful natural ferns. So we tried, again, working with our friend Barbara and others, to let the native species come up. Not always easy. And we've had many people through the years who've wanted to buy parcels of land or have access to part of our land. For example, to buy that for a discount, but that's all wetlands.
The answer is no.
And you can't develop that. We're fairly fortunate also in terms of development. We you know, taxes are high, but they support a great school system. People love the school system here.
Come on.
And the highways and byways are in pretty good shape. So, and also, oh, look, this fell since last week.
Oh, wow.
This is the kind of stuff, this would be my weekend workout right here.
This is a job for Funkle Toby.
Yes, get Funkle Toby here. So we'll be, I've already anticipated with the pilot. So it's nature, right? So things are going to fall, and I find great pleasure in clearing things like this.
It's another bench in the woods to sit.
Yeah. Yeah. That must have been, well, it looks like it was rotted maybe.
Yeah.
A bit.
Well, it fell from here, number one.
Yeah. So that's we don't need Equinox anymore. We've got this. It is funny when you hear all these gyms have these trends, you know, like you could be the fireman workout and you carry the hoses, or you can be the lumberjack workout.
Day or two. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always something. So, well, that is part of the problem with Tivoli Bays, because the policy is, unless it's right on a trail, they don't do anything with it. which I respect, except that it doesn't invite young people and families to feel safe or inviting, compared to something like Poet's Walk, which is landscaped and well maintained.
That's the giant wetland that you overlook. It's beautiful.
Yeah, here's another trail.
You see the light green? You're overlooking this beautiful wetland. It's not only state protected, it's federal.
And we're reaching the barn and the pasture shortly, so. And also because this had all been denuded through the years when it was orchards, we found some great old stone wall up here, and actually a great harvester as well, an antique harvester.
No, it's just a hay rake.
A hay rake.
Horse-drawn
almost looks
hay
like we
rake.
placed it there.
Well, like I said, this entire area was deforested, and there was apple orchards and farming, and they would clear stones and make walls for their land. But this is a special crossing area.
The kids love this.
It's a gnome crossing.
We put a little gnome in the tree there, so.
When Toby and I first met, he was working for American Express. He went to Germany, and he came, the first time he came here is about the only time.
See the little
and
gnome
he says,
in there?
I have a gift for you. And I go, oh my God, I don't like people to buy me gifts.
Kids love it.
Anyway, and so he did a whole presentation in front of the fireplace. And it was like February, it was like 19 degrees outside and 2 feet of snow. And I opened it, it was a gnome. I went, I'm really superstitious. Gnomes can't live in the house. And we found a place. We had to find a place now, and this is where it lives.
And the kids love it. A little folly.
This is was left here. This is a horse-drawn hay rake. So this was clearly a farm area. And I think it's funny. I just leave it there. It's a nice sculpture. Yeah, originally when we bought the original property, we didn't own this, and they had a sheep farm, so this was a little pond. We put the pond in.
Now we've exited the trails. A little buggy today, apologies for that. But this is the barn and the pond, which we bought in 2001. It used to be a sheep farm. We completely restored it. And then later bought the guest house up there. This is where we have some of the bigger parties, like we had the Oktoberfest during one of my favorites ever, because I love the Winter Olympics. During the Pyeongchang games, we had a Beyond Pyeongchang party, and we brought in a Korean food truck from Brooklyn, and we got the whole troupe from figure skating in Harlem to come up, and all the girls, many of whom had never been to the Hudson Valley before, did a whole synchronized skating thing on the pond, and we had a DJ spinning.
It was amazing.
It was a great way to welcome the Winter Olympics. So whether it's winter, summer, we're out here all the time. And you can see
a bonfire section over there.
Yeah, and Harlan we put in at both ends. There's stones we put in, so you can step down into the ponds. There's 2 springs here that feed this. It's very clean.
Yeah, 2 natural
swimmable
springs.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Hudson, New York for a look inside interior designer Eric Gensler's breathtaking home. Eric's home is the epitome of indoor-outdoor living, with gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows that emphasize the incredible mountain view. And inside is cool and sleek with mid-century modern decor and artwork. Eric brings us out to his gardens and greenhouse before making a floral arrangement with freshly picked flowers from the cutting garden. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Eric Gensler. Welcome to my home in the Hudson Valley. Come on in. Hello, I'm Eric Gensler. I'm an interior designer based in New York City, and today we're in my home outside of Hudson, New York. My husband and I built this house about 7 years ago It was a field that was part of a big farm. We came here and a lot of the land was cleared. We knew exactly where we were able to put the house. It allows this amazing view and really uninterrupted, and it allows it to feel like you're really just living in nature and seeing the mountains. And it's an amazing place because it's super, super quiet. When we first came up here, my husband and I, in our late 20s, we stayed with friends who actually grew up in this area and had a weekend house, and spent a lot of time up here with them. And we knew we wanted to have a place up here, and we started looking for houses, and all the houses we're seeing were on loud roads. And we came up here for many, many weekends and looked at houses, and none of them felt quite right. And then my husband was like, he's obsessed with looking at real estate listings, and he's really, really good at it. In fact, all of our friends, when they're looking for places, will send him listings, and he'll, within like 30 seconds, he'll be like, there's no natural light, the linoleum floor is going to be torn out, the roof looks old. Like, he's just brilliant at it. And so you can imagine how fun looking at a house was, because he would see all the things. And then he saw this amazing piece of land, and we knew nothing about building houses. I mean, we are like serial movers, and I've always loved moving and renovating houses, and we've moved many, many times and done many projects. And here we just saw this land, and we were with a broker who was like, you absolutely have to just take this land because the view is so special. And we were in our 30s at that point and very impatient. So we looked into prefab houses, which was very much a West Coast thing 10 years ago, but we did find a company called Lindell that makes prefab houses, and they'd just done a partnership with a number of architects as part of the Lindell Architect Collaborative, and they were really, really cool houses. And they gave the Lindell toolkit, which is essentially all the wood, all the doors, and all the windows, to a set of architects, and said, use Lindell to design a house that you've built before, or a concept house. And we saw this house, which is the architect, actually, she and her twin sister are both architects, and they built a similar version of this house, non-Lindell, in California. And I mean, let's first talk about building a California style house in the Hudson Valley in the freezing winter. So city at move number one. There are many, let's call them, we call ourselves cityots because we make so many dumb mistakes, and that's how we learn. We've gotten better. But yeah, so this is a California style house. It's very mid-century modern, I would say, which is really about one room living. And then on either side of the house, there are the primary suite side, and then over there is which you'll see later, is the guest rooms, which is actually really nice to have that separation and the privacy. And then the really big open concept living, and these are big lift and slide doors. The whole house, like the external pieces of the house, the windows, the doors, all of the wood arrived on like 2 trucks, and they unloaded it. And so my point is that we were able to build this house in under a year because we used Lindell. And we used an architect. We ended up hiring the architect, Leslie Dowling, who is wonderful. And if you look at her portfolio of houses, they're very similar to this, and she does it really well. We really focused with Leslie on customizing the kitchens and baths, which you'll see later, and the interior of the space. So at that point, I was not in interior design. I owned a digital marketing agency called Capacity Interactive that worked with arts and cultural organizations. And so I was building this house while running my company, which was a whole other job. It was very fun. But now, as an interior designer, which I'm about 2 years into my interior design career, and my whole life has sort of been an amateur interior designer, but there's a lot of choices of this house that, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have made. Although it's great because it's ours, and it's a very, very special place. So the first space I want to show you is our living room, and this has evolved a lot over time. The nice thing about working with our architect is she helped us create a furniture plan, so we knew the shape of the living room. But over time, as I learned more about interior design, a lot of the pieces have evolved, and I really love mixing periods, mixing textures, mixing shapes, mixing time periods. And so because the house is mid-century pieces look really great. Like these lamps from the 1950s, like 1950s lighting. And you can see the, like there's another 1950s lamp over here. Like got this on Etsy. There's a lot of great Etsy antique dealers. Actually, this piece right here is Edward Wormley, who was a mid-century American designer. For Dunhill, this is a magazine rack, and you'd see this in office spaces. I love it as a side table because it's really great to store magazines, and it's just such a, I feel like it fits the space of the house, but it's surprising. It's not the side table you'd find at Crate and Barrel. And when I was first doing interior, designing the space, I didn't have the resources or really think or know how to layer antiques. And so a lot of the sofa is RH. And if you ask interior designers, they're very antsy about RH because it's all beige, it's all, it's created this concept you can go in a store and create a whole house, which is, I think, a nightmare for most interior designers because it just all looks the same. And I think what's interesting is mixing periods and making it your own and making it a little different. So like these chairs were made, they're sort of based upon the style of a Brentwood chair, which is a really famous French cafe chair, and it's actually bent wood in 2 different species of wood by an artist in Spain. And I picked the leather. It took a really long time to get these made and built, but I think they're so cool because they, the way you see through them, they're a different shape than everything else in the space. And so much about interior design I've learned is around comfort. And so when you're having people over, a sectional is not really conducive to comfort. And so, you have cheese in the center and like everyone's sitting back here. So then you have to like scoot your way up, get your food. And then having a lot of chairs that can easily move and that are smaller and shaped to the human body rather than shaped to the space of the room, I think makes a more functional space. So over time, as I've learned about design, this has really evolved. And another great item there's so many things in here. This is this really cool Italian mid-century side table that I think is really beautiful, but like really mixing like this. And a lot of the materials are local, which I'll show you in a bit. So like mixing mid-century and local items has something that I think makes a lot of sense. And I also think good homes and spaces start with the space where you are. And so the more you can incorporate the fact that we are in the Hudson Valley, the fact that this is very much indoor-outdoor living, it makes sense and it makes the interior better. So as I got into interiors, I really got into upholstery and fabrics and making something unique using lots of trim and tape. And so you take this, actually I did this with a glue gun. Please don't zoom in too closely. I'm just kidding. But oftentimes if I'm doing another project, I would use a professional, but just to learn, and this has very much been my laboratory for design. But I think these turned out pretty decent. This is me and a glue gun with some wide tapes here and just adding color. Because when I started, it was really about like everything was gray and navy blue because I love gray and navy blue. But I think like having more of a mix is more interesting. And then really using the color of these paintings as the guide for this room. You see how the pillows really coordinate with they're not paintings, they're prints. It's the founder of the op art movement in the 80s, Julian, and I'm gonna really mess up his last name, Stasnik, perhaps. But these are prints of his, and we got them the week he died, which was really meaningful to the person who sold them to us. But I think the scale of them is really nice. The color of them is really nice. And I think every room, it's great to have one thing that guides the decor, and really looking to the colors in these prints, you can see adds and leads the decor. So over here, we have a very mid-century modern fireplace. This is local. It's a bluestone that is local. I wanted the stone to be not from too far away, and you'll see the bluestone throughout the property. And then this is one of my favorite pieces. It's a sealed chair. This is really beautiful, and I love it in cognac leather. You also sometimes see it in black. Just really comfy to sit by the fire and have coffee and see the view. And then again, paired here with one of these mid-century lamps from the 50s, popping the orange. And then this beautiful piece of art is an artist out of the UK, Luke Edward Hall, who I have another work of his here, and then our apartment in New York City, we have one of his pieces. I think he just beautiful just a beautiful drawing, and I love the color here. This light won't stop shaking. Okay, and all my interior design magazines everywhere. I had to really organize them for this tour. So let's go over here and look from this angle, and you can see this beautiful credenza that's locally made by a furniture maker called Fern. They were based in, they're still in the Hudson Valley. They used to have a storefront on Warren Street, but now they closed that storefront, but they still make this beautiful furniture, and I have a coffee table as well, but I love this. And this is a Stone and Sawyer lamp, which is also made in the Hudson Valley. And I love trimming lampshades. So this was just a plain linen lampshade, and just found this $2 ribbon that I glue gunned on it. So just finding the colors, it just adds adds another layer of something interesting. So I like when you're looking every part of a room, you discover something, or you can discover something. And then getting the height of the lamp, I'm cheating with books, but I do that a lot. So we'll go from the living room to the dining room, which is the same space, but really thinking about this main area, because it is large and open, creating zones that make sense. And I think there's 3 main zones and 2 sort of mini zones here. So like the fireplace is maybe 1 zone, thinking of a focal place. And here is the dining room, which is a really big table. The scale of it I really like. These chairs, I worked on tape on one just to make it a little more interesting. I'm thinking of doing the other 2 as well. I love setting tables, and I love making flowers for a table, but I think it's important for a dining room that you can see over and see the person across the table. So these are actually chamomile, and they smell like chamomile, and you can dry them and make tea. These lights are also local from the Hudson Valley. It's a company called Niche Modern, and they blow glass in Beacon, and the colors are really, really beautiful. The shapes are really beautiful. It was very hard to choose. They can either come on a canopy like this, or they can go right into the wall. There's another grouping of them in the kitchen that sort of relate but aren't the same. But I feel it's very sort of almost 50s with the globe and the hand-blown glass. I think handmade materials are so different, and that's again another thing in learning about interior design is I really try to focus on getting handmade materials and supporting craftspeople if you can, because it just not only you're supporting people who are working with their hands, but you feel the difference. And like when we look here, like this glass is hand blown and you see the flaws in it, but that's why I think it's beautiful. These are from Heath Ceramics in San Francisco. We used to live in San Francisco, and I love everything from Heath Ceramics. They make beautiful tile, they make beautiful plates and homeware, and you see the hand in that, and I think it's quite beautiful. I love using candles. The more candles, if we were going to have dinner here, there would probably be a small candle around each plate, and at least 4 candlesticks. And the taller the candlesticks, the better. Like, what do they say, Dolly? The higher the hair, the closer to God. You want the candles to reach as high as possible without causing a fire. So I love burning candles. I think it just makes for a beautiful dinner party. And in this room there are a ton of light sources. I don't love overhead light. I think you can use it functionally, but I think if you think about lighting, it's sort of like you want it to mimic the outside. So at night, you don't want really bright overhead lights. You want it to feel like you're lighting candles. So I do put lots of candles around, which I took out because it can look cluttered. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 lamps over here, plus candles, plus many candles, and maybe really dim overhead lighting, because I think in the fireplace during the season, I think like low flickering candles really make for an intimate, lovely atmosphere. And then I was just gonna say the final area in here is just a place to sit and admire the view and have a cup of coffee. So that's another sort of mini zone, read a book. We'll just get a glimpse of the outside, but later in the tour. Another thing we didn't know when we were building this house is the sun sets over the mountains there, which is absolutely beautiful, but it is a furnace on this side of the house. And so all of the initial seating was on the furnace side of the house. And so that's why I built the greenhouse garden, which is shadier. And at some point we'll probably do some sort of seating arrangement on that side of the house so we can be outside and enjoy the outside without it being really hot. The other thing I didn't know is with the bugs, it would have been great to have some sort of screened in area. So advice for anyone building a house, talk to people older than you and see what, how they think about entertaining or what they would want, or talk to people in the area. My friend did say 2 things he reminded me the other day that I did not listen to. He said, you want a screened in porch and you want a garage. We do not have a screened in porch, which I wish we did. And we have a carport, which again, California house in upstate New York. I was like, oh, a carport, it'll be fine. Well, when there's snow coming up the side and you're freezing cold out there, it would have been really nice to have a garage. So I don't want to keep you any longer. Let's go outside and see the outdoor space and the gardens. So this is actually a garden path that is hiding a French drain. This was a muddy mess because this giant hill. So we made the building path here, and tons of water just comes down this hill here. And we just added this, there's drainage under here, but it's actually a great path as well. And then we figured out the right trees for here. So weeping willows like water and they drink all the water. This was a crabapple tree that we were we want a crabapple tree, city it move. And we had 3 crabapples, 2 of them died because they were drowning. But amazing, when we added the weeping willows and this maple that likes to drink water, the crabapple started to thrive. So thinking about just the ecosystem was really helpful, and now the trees are actually doing quite well. And they got that amazing urn over there. That's a 19th century French urn. So the house being very mid-century modern, and as I've grown in my career as an interior designer and learning about different periods, really the garden is where I've incorporated a lot of much older items, so that are much older than mid-century and more international, less American, and we'll see that as we walk through. So here, these columns are British from the, I think, 1820s. I think they're so beautiful. And I have to say, in the garden, this garden started as a PowerPoint. I started to love arranging flowers, and we'll see later, there's vegetable beds, and I used to raise vegetables. And when we first built this house, we went with a really simple grass, mid-century garden. We didn't have a lot of trees. We didn't have budget for trees. We didn't have budget for much gardening. And this garden started much smaller, and I read Martha Stewart and Kevin Sharkey's book and was like, okay, if you want a cutting garden, these are the perennials you want to start with. And so I had my PowerPoint of perennials. I met my neighbor had a gardener, Linda Gibson of Gibson. So she's a local gardener who I love. We now like text all the time, and this garden would not happen without her. And we have such an amazing partnership and working together. But a lot of the structure and the beauty and this garden is definitely a team effort, and a ton of credit to Linda and her team of people. So this side is really, you know, we've learned what works here and what doesn't, like I was saying about the willows. Also, these are all willows that are hiding the deer fence. So you can't have a garden in the Hudson Valley because of deer. So these, you know, and it takes years for these willows to grow, but they're Najiki willows, they're Japanese willows. I think they're really beautiful. They change colors in the seasons. And so this is, on this side is plants that like water, hydrangea, the key word hydro. They love water. So these are new, but they'll really grow. And this garden, what's amazing about it is all year, like from the time the crocuses come up till the final frost, different things are coming in and out. So there's always something to cut. And it looks beautiful as it is, but there's really, like, I'm constantly cutting from it. I have my snippers here, and just thinking about how to plant things that are really good for cutting and look really good as a garden. So as we go through, you know, you see the tulips and daffodils. Linda and I made a mistake this year where I thought I was buying the tulips and daffodils and she thought she was. And we each bought like 1,000. And so there were like an outrageous amount of tulips and daffodils. The daffodils come back every year. The tulips don't always come back. I mean, I kind of like Martha Stewart. I think you see this picture in her book of, she has like 10,000 daffodils. So I'm far away from that. So mirroring the columns here are these juniper. So you have the structure of the garden. Linda talks about that a lot. And you look at like the flow and, you know, the low juniper here. These lilies, look at this gorgeous, this just came up. These yellow lilies. And the rabbits have been reproducing like bunny rabbits this year. I'm keeping it G-rated for Homeworthy. But the rabbits have been out of control. So we usually have these gorgeous hollyhocks everywhere, but they've been rabbit food. And let's see, these irises are so pretty. These hydrangeas are starting. This pink is called bee balm. You see, it attracts bees. I love having pollinators here because they pollinate everything. They bring the bees to the yard. So it just like spreads, and really it's something that does quite well here. This catmint does really well, and it's really great for cutting. The lilies today are just out. Every day there's something different. Butterflies are here. This is my one Japanese maple this is its first year doing quite well. It often gets frost damage, but it's thriving this year. In fact, it's getting almost too big. And these are climbing geranium, which I just love because they're really low and they spread to the ground and they're sort of wild. They're wild looking, quite beautiful. And so the path continues. Over here, these are all lilacs. And so there's this picture that Kevin Sharkey, who worked for Martha, has in this Martha Stewart book of this arrangement where he has like 5 different shades of lilac from white to dark purple. And a couple of years ago, my mom tragically passed away, and her favorite plant was lilac. And so I remember when I was a kid, I would go home and cut her lilacs, which was stealing from neighbors' lilac trees. But I don't know. Did I think that was a problem? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I brought her lilacs. I was rewarded, so it was good. So when she passed away, we planted this lilac grove here that just looks like normal bushes all year, but for like 2 or 3 weeks, it's absolutely beautiful colors of lilacs. And then you can begin to see the terrible view of the Catskill Mountains. And you can see a lot of the landscaping effort has been to hide the deer fence. So we can also wrap around the garden a lot of ornamental trees, or bee balm. The roses come and go. This is sort of the end of their first show for the summer. And so the garden really does have phases, and this is, I would say this is like peak early summer. There's a book I love, a cookbook I love called 6 Seasons, and there's typically there's 4 seasons, but in his book, and I also think in the garden, there's 6 seasons because there's early summer, midsummer, and late summer. And I think this is early summer here. So we're seeing these allium are starting. We're seeing like the bee balm are at peak, and they'll keep flowering all summer. The hydrangea will flower all summer. These irises are so spectacular. Irises and lilies are in the same family. It's confusing. These are lilies. These are allium as well. I think they're so fun. They just have a sense of humor. These are Glowmaster allium. They look very Dr. Seussian. They're early in. The peonies are done. Sedum do really well, which is sort of the succulent here. These are just came up today. Like every time you come up here, there's things coming and going. These are balloon flowers, which are so cool. You can see they are shaped like balloons. You can see all the bees coming to the bee balm yard. These roses will come back, but bugs be loving those roses. And I just added these pots this year for some structure. Then coming over here, I just got this bench, and it still has the tag on it. I mean, not the real tag. It was from this auction, this place in Connecticut. This husband and wife spent half of their year in France and half in Connecticut, and they have just amazing old garden items. And then they closed their shop and had an auction, and I had it on my calendar. And this is a 19th century Scottish bench, and I just think it's so beautiful in the auction. And then this is, my friend Ben calls it my wagon wheel. And I always joke with my husband, we're going to renew our vows under here. And he's like, absolutely not. But it allows you to have climbing. And climbing things take a really long time. This is clematis, or as the British say, clematis. I love Monty Don. There's this show in the UK that's been on BBC for forever called Gardener's World. And it's very, very calming. And Monty Don just talks about his garden, and then they interview gardeners all over the UK. My husband calls it Xanax for bedtime. You watch them and they're like, today we're going to tour a clematis garden. And so this is clematis, as the British say. And we have 6 different kinds of clematis climbing, and they're doing quite well. They're just so beautiful. You can see this variety is here. This variety, they come and go all summer. This one sort of looks like a 60s bob or a wig. It's going, but more will come back. And when you think of flower arrangements, I like to think of fillers, thrillers, and spillers, and so this is a really good filler. And then over here, you can see the wig coming out of the lion. So I've just been adding, as I find antiques, when that was blooming, it looked like it was coming out of his head, which was cool. And then we have our climbing hydrangea over here. You have to keep them off the house because they're very aggressive, but hopefully they bloom. We're still in June, and then this box is for herbs, and now we're gonna come over here to the pool patio, and I will show you that part of the outdoor space. So we'll walk from the crest, we call this the crescent garden, into the pool area. So the year before the pandemic, actually for years coming up here, friends would be like, this house would be way better with a pool. And we didn't have one. And a pool destroys everything. So this was a total mess, but we did the pool. And it has a waterfall edge. It's amazing to have a pool. And I really like the idea of the grass into the marble coping. So this is local marble as well. Into the same Najiki willows, into the terrible view. And then the patio, these pots are from a company called Berg's, and Bergs. They're designed in Denmark and made in Italy. I just think they have the most beautiful pots, and I love choosing the structure and the construction of the flowers. And this year we did oranges and purples. And so Linda really talks about each pot having a focal point, and I love the concept of fillers, spillers, and thrillers, and then color theory. And another thing I learned from Linda about making a pot like this is thinking about leaf structure. So if you have like it's the same with interiors. If you're going to do if you're going to mix patterns, do a large scale pattern and a small scale pattern. So like this is a small scale. This is small scale, like this is more large scale, and you see how the colors and textures, or like the longer shape playing against the other shapes, or how this fern sort of plays in here. So we do focal points, fillers, fillers, and spillers, thinking about color and thinking about broad leaves and narrow leaves next to each other, scale. And here's some more. I had a lot of fun I knew I had a good like carts of flowers when people were trying to shop off my cart at the nursery. I was like, those are mine. Go find your own. These are super fun and cool and beautiful, and I'm so glad they flowered purple because I wasn't quite sure what the flower would look like when I got them in the spring. This is a magnolia, which is actually doing quite well. And then these are forget-me-nots. When my husband's cousin Priscilla, who was a total character from Southie Boston, passed away, she had organized her entire funeral, and part of it was everyone got a packet of forget-me-nots, and we actually originally planted them in there, but they've made their way here. So every year somehow Priscilla's forget-me-nots find their way into the garden somewhere. I just finished this. Like I said, I love upholstery, and I think it can make such a difference. These are just RH chairs we've had forever, but I just finished this, making these. I love a contrast piping, and I think they look so chic. This is a pillow with really old fabric that I found at the shop in the Lower East Side. A woman named Paula Rubenstein. She has a great shop of vintage fabrics, and this is a Schumacher stripe that is beautiful. These are not, I mean, it is sort of tricky here to have, because you have the fire, and then having drinks here it's not the most conducive for food and having a fire, but it looks pretty. And then we have the outdoor speakers here for our party house. And then I just did these as well, which is sort of the inspo. Well, the inspo for this was Yves Saint Laurent's Rue Babylon in Paris. He has these gorgeous outdoor green upholstered chairs. And then there's also some Slim Aarons photos from Italy in the 60s and 70s. It has this gorgeous like white and green cabana stripes. And then here, this fabric is so pretty. It has the navy blue and green. And then, we have, having light and music here is really nice in the outside. And then made these as well, which have the blue with the same white stripe for the, and sort of here you see like these are like, you know, this is mixing cedar and these really utilitarian chairs that are from DWR, and made them my own with upholstery and accessories, I guess. But then you see these fun like old French urns on the pool, and more Bergs pots. Like they're just so beautiful. So now we're gonna go from this pool deck to the cutting garden. Join me. All right, so now we're gonna tour the cutting garden, which is 6 raised beds that originally it was all vegetables, and I would miss a week here and it would go absolutely crazy. And I can actually buy really great vegetables, but it's harder and more expensive to buy really great flowers. So this has become mostly flower with some vegetables. You can see the lettuces here. These tomatoes, actually, this is the first year I've grown tomatoes from seed because I have a greenhouse, so started them as little seeds, started the basil as seed as well, and I like putting basil by the tomato because the flowering of the basil brings the pollinators to the tomatoes. That's all different kinds of basil. This is mint, which is a weed. It's also really great for arrangements because it lasts a long time. And these are just cosmos that I think are really great summer flowers. This is going to be a ton of zinnia of all different colors. One trick when you first plant the zinnia right before, right when they start, same with zinnia and cosmos and dahlias even, you snip the middle from the top plant and they spread out. So, they're flowering a little late because I snipped them all, but they're going to be really wide and they'll produce twice as many flowers that way. These are just wild poppies that, just have grown quite well here. So we kept them. We have some other stuff coming in behind them. And then this was another poppy that made its way here, which is so beautiful. And these are all dahlias from tubers that each stake is a dahlia. So you don't water the dahlias until they come through the ground. But these are like weird, rare dahlias that I can't wait to see what they look like because this is my first year growing them. So let's go from the raised bed cutting garden up to the greenhouse. So this is the greenhouse, which is something I just put in last year. So it started as, let's have a greenhouse. And so I found this beautiful greenhouse that was mid-century. It was the style of the house. And I thought, we'll just lay a cement floor and we'll build a greenhouse. But nothing's ever that easy because the land was really slanted. So we needed to have a retaining wall. And so I decided to use local bluestone for the retaining wall, and I was really into French decor, especially French garden decor. So it is a mid-century structure with a lot of French decorative items and this path. So it's like a small walled garden here, and it gets really, really hot. That's why they call it a greenhouse. And so this is our lavender, which is the first year of the lavender, and it is thriving here. And then nasturtium, or the edible orange flower, again, purple and orange is such a nice combo. This was from that store that I mentioned. This is a faux bois, which means fake wood, like an old French bench, and it looks like fake wood. And this fountain is 19th century from Paris, and it just was like the right scale for this wall. And it's actually run by a garden pump. So we built like I said, this was supposed to be a really simple greenhouse, but it never is. And so this has just a pond pump. We built a concrete water storage beneath it, and the water goes into it and recirculates through. But it looks like when you go to like Italy or France and you just have the running water. Don't tell. And the thing about building walls like this is the snakes really love it. And I know they're just garter snakes, but I like it when I don't see them. So I don't see them today. Maybe we can get some wildlife footage, but none here. And these are 1940s French deco outdoor chairs. I love 1940s decor. I love 1940s French decor because it was like right before mass manufacturing. So you still have, like, they look very modern, but they also still look very old fashioned. I love the patina of them. I was so thrilled to find these. And then these are 3 ornamental apple trees and my solar lighting. So as we go into the greenhouse, you can't really have much in the greenhouse in the summer except succulents. And so I've been growing succulents. These are French cafe tables and lots of Berg's pots as well with a pencil cactus. I love this succulent tray. It's really, really warm in here. Look at this guy. This is another Berg's pot that I think is just so beautiful. And these cactus, I think cactuses are camp. These came mail order, and you just sort of they came chopped and you just put them in the dirt and they thrive. And I think this is really fun. I love the feet of this column. I would guess this is like 1940s if I had to guess. I could totally be wrong. This is a pickling jar that is great for here. I love the scale of it. These are old, sort of more mid-century. I love how beat up and patinaed that is. These are old French, like I said, French cafe tables. More succulents. My dried hydrangeas from last year that were too pretty to throw away. And then lots of fans, because you can never have enough fans. Actually, something cool about this is these windows are tied to a thermostat. And when it gets past a certain temperature, which is always, they automatically open, which I thought was a really cool feature here. So let's get out of the greenhouse and we'll go back to the garden to cut some flowers to make an arrangement, and then we'll finish touring the house. Hey, lady. Alright, so what I normally do at this point is arrange them into similar colors. So like, technically you're supposed to like hydrate the flowers before you arrange them, which I did for some before that I have from arrangements from yesterday, but with these, because they really will drink a lot of water initially, and it's amazing when you grow flowers versus like buying them, how much longer they last. So I like to, so you want to clean the stems to make sure you don't want any dirt in the stems, or in the water, I mean. So I usually take out the bottom stems, and then these might fall over. Let's see, I'll put them in here. The heavier glass, that's good. And then these clematis will all go in there. Oh, there's another one of these guys. Then we'll do the clematis. The clematis and the geranium that I cut they're like peas. They like to hang on to things, so they're always trying to hold on to you and each other. I think when I'm up here, I get into especially when I'm arranging flowers or walking around the garden or doing stuff outside, I'm in like what they call a flow state, which is your mind is clear. And I have the kind of mind that always likes to be doing something. And oftentimes that thing is work, but up here to be able to just, go into this flow state and do something I love. So I think having a home where I can do that is really important. And, when I talk to the clients I've worked with around figuring out how to have a nice home or a home that they love, back in when American interior design started, and I think it really sort of got big in the early 20th century, interior designers were hired. It was unreachable for most people, and a lot of their job was to teach young people, very wealthy young people, how to live, like how to live in a house, how to live as an adult. And I think a modern interpretation of that is an interior designer can help people live better. And I think one of the ways of like living a good life is having a home that works for you, and having a home that can, provide things like the ability to arrange flowers, or living beautifully. And I think having flowers, whether they're from your garden or from a deli, having things that are alive in your house, like brings a home to life. Especially, like, I love this house. When we first get here from the city, there's no flowers usually, or flowers have died, and it just feels very, very different. And so, you know, certainly home to me is having things alive. And it's not only flowers, but it's even like produce, growing vegetables, having just things that are alive here. So I think that's really important to me. All right, so the flowers are conditioning, and I really think the purple will look good with this orange old marble deco vase. And this faucet is, I love natural materials. It's unlacquered brass, and it's just so beautiful. It feels so good in your hand. It's the Henry faucet from Waterworks, and that has the beautiful detail there. I just love it. This is a pot from a ceramicist up here, Paula Greif, who makes the coolest ceramic pottery. And this was from an auction house up here called Stair. So the first thing I like to do is I want to create a base of structure. So one of the challenges is making sure everything stands up. And you can either use, you know, tape or a flower frog. I like to try to do it naturally, especially with a vase this shape. So one way to do that is to think about having like your the just leafy things first. So these are cherry, like pieces from a cherry tree, and I think that deep purple will look nice with the light purples. And then I have a little bit of privet, which is a bush that grows like a weed up here. So I'm gonna take these cherries, look at the height, maybe like a little lower than that. So I hold it up to how high I want it to be. The tip of that one is bugs, got it. That's the thing, when you buy stuff from the florist, generally bugs haven't eaten it, but we don't have that here. So I'll strip all the leaves, because you don't want leaves in the water because it makes it dirty. And then you always want to do a fresh cut for when you're putting it in. I like odd numbers. Like, I think a trio looks nice to start. So pretty much that height, and maybe I'll change it, but see how I hold it to the counter height, put it in, and then I'll start to make a structure with the stem so I can arrange into it. So start there, and then the privet is really nice to have as a structure because it's a nice sturdy stem. Don't want the leaves in there, maybe about that high. I like this little detail there, so cut it that high. With things that are stemmy, it'll last longer if you sort of break open the stem so it gets more exposure to water, or like smash it, then peel. Really try to not get any leaves close to the bottom of the vase. It just looks better without it. So I should have cut those off. So that might be a little tall. That looks good. We could do one more piece of privet. Just take it from here. That would be good. All right, maybe a little bit more. Maybe some of this sedum that I got, it might be too short. So let's see if this one, that might be a little interesting to have. Is the color interesting? No, it doesn't work. So this, I might do a little more of that cherry and a little more privet. You can always take it out. If it doesn't work, take that. Sorry. This one looks better. All the flowers are from the garden, which isn't, you know, that's really the goal, to try all year round to have stuff to use. And you can get creative too with, you know, some of these are just shrubs, but they have interesting leaves. And so if you can work with any kind of flower, even in the winter, using evergreens and just trying to take it from the property. And then, so now we have sort of a nice base of, then maybe this would be a little interesting to have a different structure of leaf as well, because they're a little more exotic looking and they can pop up like that. And then we can put the flowers around them, a little shorter. And those are sort of on their own interesting. Do one more of those. Love the shape of those. You know, as I grew up and my mom always had flowers. She didn't really arrange flowers, but I just sort of self-taught, and I read, you know, different books and followed different YouTubers on learning to do flower arrangements. And it's just, I love it because it sort of incorporates all the skills of interior design, of color and scale. And it's, like I said, it has that flow state. But I've just trial and error and then lots of book reading. When I'm into something, I will go deep, and I'll show you all my interior or my flower books, and just watching people and following Instagram of amazing florists. And you know, it's mostly trial and error, and lots of times they go bad and you just redo them, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm selling them for a wedding or anything. We have the base of the colors here. Now we want to get some like focal points, and I really want it to focus on the clematis here, which I think are so amazing. So we have this really big guy and unruly guy. It might be the wrong size vase, but it has all these really cool things that might be really neat coming down the side, like sort of like that. So we're gonna have to clean out the extra ones, which is hard to do. But I always have like extra small containers that can use the like, and sometimes these end up being the best arrangements, like just so for the extras that are small, so you don't waste them. This guy, that might be a little too tall, shorten it one. The thing about flower arranging is spilling water. You have to not worry about it, because it always happens. Let's see if that looks like coming out here. Oh, into the fire, perfect. Or up here. That looks really cool. See, all these guys are growing on each other. Come on. Let's get the leaves out of here. They grow so weirdly. So this would look good as sort of like going down the side over here. And then this one over here. It's really good to like turn, to like keep turning your, sometimes I do this on a lazy Susan. The other thing that I think is important is to have something like weird. And I think these are sort of like weird and unexpected, but they're in the color. So just to have a different shape of something like a little strange and unexpected, like put this, cut it at an angle, and then get that guy in there. And this one has some really nice height, but it's all in the color family. And we have the clematis at the bottom. Little extras pop over here. And then I think we can use some more like pops of purple. So we'll use these. Oh, actually these still be. Will be amazing. Let's get the height of that right. Beautiful. Let's see. Getting there. And now we have a really nice base that's like holding it down. So when I put any flower in, I can sort of go anywhere I want it to, because we built that base really well with lots of different flowers. Maybe one more stilby. And then some of these over here. And then you don't want to go too far. So it's always that balance. Like Is it better with one less? And I think the tension of this hanging off the edge and almost touching will be really nice. Cut it off. There we go. That did it. And then we'll put some of these in it. Some pops of purple, light purple. So this one actually turned out, so they don't always. I'm pretty happy with that. It's like Coco Chanel said, take one thing away, but I just won't go too far that I have to. So there it is. Should we put it in the middle of the table? Sister's joining us for this part of the tour. Sister is the newest member of our family. She's a 2-year-old min pin, which we joke, she's a Doberman in the dryer. We had a dog for a long time, and we didn't have a dog for 3 years, and our friend works in dog rescue and was like, she's the perfect dog, you have to have her. And we do, and she's a real sweetheart. She's named after Sister Parrish, which is a deep cut for interior design history nerds. And my husband is a theater professor, so his version is she's like a Tennessee Williams character, sister. So we made a mess in the kitchen, but I can show it to you. This is the kitchen, and because it's part of the main space, you know, I like kitchens that feel like part of the house, and it doesn't feel like totally separate from the house. And in an older house, I feel like it's nice to have a kitchen that doesn't feel like it's from like a, you know, a furniture show, like a kitchen showroom. This kitchen does really, I think, feel like the rest of the house. I really wanted a navy blue kitchen, and finding the right navy blue. This was actually made by Mennonites locally at a wood shop. They did an absolutely amazing job. And this marble is from Vermont. It's called Danby marble. I love it. I love having a lamp in the kitchen, just because a kitchen shouldn't feel like a showroom. It's just like part of the rest of the house. And so I feel like that makes it feel more tied to the rest of the house. And because this is so open, it really is part of the overall living space. These lamps, or these lights, are also from Niche Modern, and I really like how they're slightly different, but they complement the ones over the dining chair. And having a big country sink is really, really nice here. The coolest feature of the kitchen, I think, was one time we got here and the appliances were installed and the cabinetry was on top of it, and I called the architect and said, Leslie, I think we forgot to put the handle on the dishwasher. And she said, no, just knock on it. I said, what do you mean knock on it? She said, knock the dishwasher twice. So I did, and it opens, which is such a strange feature that I never asked for, but that is the dishwasher we got. So it has not broken yet. So that's a nice feature. And the refrigerator is built in, which I think is really nice, because now I'm on my cookbooks. I love this cookbook, 6 seasons, all the different seasons of the garden. I'm a huge Ottolenghi fan. I love Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, which is such a great cookbook. Cook 90 is my friend David Tamarkin's cookbook that he wrote a lot of in this house. And then Alice Waters, icon. And then we have sort of the mirroring of it, which is the pantry, the very organized pantry. I think you can cook almost anything if I love just going to the grocery store without recipes and just getting whatever produce is there and whatever protein is there. And then if you have sort of a full pantry, you can make anything. And so I love cooking here. I would, my husband likes to go out to eat at this one restaurant when we're up here. I love it too, Gaskin's, and they inspire me to cook, but otherwise I'm just very happy cooking every meal. Coming in here to the primary bedroom, I like for a room to have one or two main colors and then two more secondary colors, and you can really see here this Turkish rug leads the color story here, which is sort of black, red, black, brown, red, and cream. So there's a lot of red here. Bedside tables are these amazing mid-century 4-drawer bedside tables that I love. This is from Les Indiennes, which does Indian block print. So it's actually in Warren Street in Hudson, where they make amazing block print. And I love Ralph Lauren Home, so the pillows are from Ralph Lauren Home. And I glue gunned that trim on that. That's a Ralph Lauren Home fabric as well. This lamp is 1940s French deco, which is so fun. I love the feet, the deco feet. And we have our mid-century chair here, Italian, that's from 1980. Red, just really red oil painting on canvas. My husband's book, which in my photo shoots of the interiors I've worked on, I always have his book as well. And he jokes it's like the Hirschfeld Nina. So the artist Hirschfeld would always have his Nina, his daughter's name, hidden in his artwork. So Broadway Bodies is my Nina. This photo is our friend Julia, who is an amazing photographer, and she worked for years at Diner in Williamsburg, Andrew Tarlow's restaurant. We used to go to Diner and Marlowe and Sons all the time, and I just love her photos. And she just had a book of photography that has a lot of her wonderful photographs. And then this piece has traveled with me. This was actually in the office of my company. That is an apartment building in Buenos Aires. So it is hard to tell what it is, but it's a apartment building with the air conditioners, and you see, I love the how many stories are contained within each of those windows, and how people have the air conditioning on different parts. So what home means to me is a place to express yourself, a place to have friends and family feel welcome and feel like they're having I love hospitality, and I love cooking a meal for people, sharing my home with them, our home with them, a place that it's a place to, I guess, give back to yourself, to recharge, and a place to also give and share with other people. Thank you for coming, Homeworthy.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.